go. So the main goal of this is it's very chill, very casual. Like I've got some slides talking about how identity is created, not found. And I created because I think a lot of people are feeling kind of lost. A lot of people are kind of stuck in bad habits, and I wanted to share my 2 cents on how they can help overcome it. So my mission with doing a lot of this is to empower people to live with intention, peace, and unconditional love. What's up, Nick? Welcome.
Andrew.
And what I noticed is this, because I've been doing door-to-door sales for going into my 6th year now, is I've gotten really good at changing people at a one-on-one basis. But my capacity for that and actually making a difference is maybe 10 to 15 people per year. And one of my goals is like, how can I go change millions of lives? And I noticed that the internet is my best bet for scaled impact. So this is me just like full send in. Let's see what happens. Let's have some fun. So the goal is like between 20 to 30 minutes of slides and then Q&A where we can all just talk and ask questions. And again, the whole goal of this is I wish someone spelled this stuff out for me when I was 18. So real quick, for those of you who don't know me, this is like my productive side of things. I grew up in San Diego, went to college, bio pre-med at the University of Tulsa in Oklahoma, graduated with straight A's, decided not to go to medical school to do door-to-door sales. And I'm going to my 6th year. I've sold over $1.3 million worth of pest control. That's like about 1,700 credit cards that I've collected. My team's done over 3.5 mil, and we run a kick-ass team. So this year, my team was number 1. We beat 29 other teams to win a trip to Bali, and we got that big-ass trophy. Show you that we were the best. So real quick about me, and then stuff I like to do for fun. I like to exercise, work out, stay in shape, read. I love to travel and learn, and I love having good like conversations with people. So purpose today is to help people be intentional. And one of the things I was wondering is how can I address that problem? And I noticed that most people are struggling to be intentional, mainly because of 2 things. They have a lack of identity. So there's lots of people that I see trying to discover themselves. And then there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck in what I like to call the negative loop, where like people say that they're going to sleep 8 hours, but then they doom scroll and then like go to bed at 3 a.m. over and over and over again. So that's like the negative loop. People just keep saying they're going to do something, but then they don't. And I'm going to share 2 cents on the frameworks that helped me. So first, what is identity? Okay, identity is the set of characteristics, beliefs, and values that define who a person is, making them unique from others. So, like, I want to ask you guys, like, ask yourself, who am I? Who is Nick Ciceri? It's kind of hard to answer, right? It's like you can put some words together, but how do you know if it's true? How do you know if it's like the right answer? Like, is it Fugazi Fugazi? Does it actually mean something? I struggled with these questions. So, big thing I noticed is identity is created. Okay. Most people, from my experience, never become who they're meant to be because they're waiting to find themselves. And then, like, again, knocking doors, I've seen so many people, so many adults, like 40s, 50s, 60s, talking about how their life flashes by. And that terrified me. And personally, like, I spent years trying to find myself. Like, I've done a lot of travel. I went to Thailand, Japan, Bali, like, spent a lot of time with nature, meditated in temples. Never really clicked. I never had like an aha moment, like, hey, I am Andrew Varvara. I know who he is. And it's been a big process. Again, asking questions, reading books. And I've noticed that you can discover your strengths and your weaknesses. And ideally, you want to build an identity aligned with your strengths and your weaknesses and build an environment that aligns with that too. But identity is rarely found. Identity is almost always created. And until you understand that, you're going to repeat the same cycles of confusion, distraction, lust, validation chasing, anxiety, inconsistency, right? All those same patterns that keep you stuck in survival mode. Like I've been through it a lot of myself, and it was really hard to figure out how to get out of it. And that's like what this is about, is to like help you guys share some thoughts, spread the word on how to get out of it. And again, sadly, there are so many grown adults walking around who have not figured this out. They're just drifting through life hoping time would shape them, but it doesn't, right? And time doesn't build identity, intention does. Oh, I'm going to hit hide here. Okay. And then I'm going to break down the framework I use to build my identity, how you can do it too. And the long-term goal with a lot of this, like, why should we be thinking about identity? Why would I want to build an identity? Why is it worth my time? It's the goal is to stop living on autopilot, to stop living with a scarcity mindset, fear, survival, confusion, and instead to live life the way you want to. Right. And like with me, I want to live my life with intention, purpose, abundance, and unconditional love. And it's still a process that I'm learning for myself, and I have long ways to go. But I feel like it's worth sharing my experience to like help other people get on that track too. So, why does identity matter? So, looking at this image, okay, this is a positive feedback loop of how identity determines your standards, determines actions, then evidence, which then reinforces identity, and it's this reinforcing cycle. Okay. And the big problem I see is that a lot of people try to change their standards or their actions without even being conscious of their identity. And then years go by and they're stuck in the same place. And my goal is to not let that happen to you if you don't want that to happen to yourself. So the big thing is identity is like the internal blueprint that you act from. And the fact in life is that you don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. You get what your standard is between what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. And the big problem I see is when people have a weak identity, then their standards are low. And then what happens is they're stuck in this phase where, because their standards are low, their actual actions, when they say that I'm going to get 8 hours of sleep, but then they doom scroll until 3 a.m., their action doesn't line up. And then they actually build negative evidence to reinforce their negative identity. So people don't think about who they are. Then like they're not even like aware of like what standards or like habits are. So they're saying, oh, tomorrow I'm going to go to sleep at 10 p.m. But then like action wise, they doom scroll until 3. They wake up the next morning at whatever it is, 2 p.m. They're like, man, I'm a piece of crap. Like I can't do this. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And the problem too is that a lot of adults, they've got decades of this feedback loop reinforcing bad identity, low standards, low actions. So hopefully I can kind of build and I can explain like the problem that I've been seeing that I want to try to help change. And the good news is the opposite works too. So the good news is when you have a positive identity, when you have that positive feedback loop where you start at the right spot and you take the time to figure out your blueprint and who you are, that's naturally going to determine, it's naturally going to raise your standards of what's acceptable and not. And then from that, it's going to be easier to take action to actually start building evidence of the identity that you've embodied. Okay. So first thing to know about creating your identity. And for those of you taking notes, don't feel pressured to like write down everything I'm talking about, because I try to like put as much juice on like every minute of me talking. But feel free to like write down like what sticks out for you, so that when you review the notes the next day or 2 days, you can remember like 2 to 5 key points, or even two key points that actually helps you take action. One of the big things is it has no boundaries. Okay, your identity has no boundaries. But here's the problem. Problem is the box. I'm talking about this box. We are all living in a box. I also realize I don't have water, but that's fine. Okay. And most people never think about it. And even fewer take action. So, what is this box that we're all living in? It's social norms constraining our dreams, right? Most people naturally plan or do whatever others are doing, what others want them to do, or what we think others want them to do. Okay. And not enough of figuring out what do we want to do. And the reason why so few people even think about this is because staying in the box is naturally the most comfortable path of least resistance. So hopefully I'm kind of explaining what the box is, where again, it's just we are making decisions based off of other people's expectations or opinions instead of our own. And half of the time, we're doing it without realizing it. Now, don't get me wrong, the box has its value. Okay. Like living in the box has its purpose in raising us, making sure we're decent human beings, keeping us accountable, keeping society together, making sure we don't become degenerates that leech from society. And honestly, some people are better off staying in that box than getting out of it. But after a certain point, when you've built your fundamentals of who you are as a human being, and you know like a decent sense of what's good versus what's bad, and you want to do good for the world, that box can confine you and your dreams. So, what's it like out of the box? Well, how would you live your life if you stopped caring what others think? That's what we're going to talk about a bit. Thinking outside the box. And the big thing is it's not easy. It requires a lot of inner work. And I love using that word, inner work. It's consciously examining your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, patterns, so you can understand yourself better and intentionally grow. It's the process of becoming aware of what's going on inside of you and then actively improving it, right? Like silence, self analyzing, thinking, journaling, meditating, asking deep questions, challenging yourself. It's like, see where we're kind of getting at with this concept of identity creation. And then you also have to do the inner work of asking yourself hard questions in a quiet space where you have freedom to think. And here's the other thing too. I don't want to be the guy that's saying, get out of the box, stay out of the box. Because I actually don't agree with that. I think all of us will always live in a box. I don't think we'll ever be out of the box. And I think that's okay. But I do believe that we can be intentional on which box we're living in. So instead of unconsciously living life based on other people's opinions, living in a small box or living in the wrong box, we can consciously choose our goals, dreams, lifestyles, priorities based on our terms. And that can involve living in a bigger box or moving to a different box. And again, like most of us are young, I'm 25. We've got another 6, 7 decades. Like it's your choice what box you want to be in, and it's your choice on what box you want to be in down the road too. It's never a finite absolute thing. So, if you want to take creating your identity serious, you need to do the inner work to get started. Okay. And so I put like a little framework that helps me. So get away from the hustle bustle of life. And honestly, it's not something you want to do in 5 or 10 minutes. It's usually like the first 5 to 15, 20 minutes. It's just like you racking in your head, not getting anywhere. Like you feel like you're not making any progress, but it's actually good. It's like the exponential curve, where the first 20 minutes you're kind of just like getting in the right headspace. And then actually I feel like the real meat, the real juice of inner work is that 30 to 60 minute plus mark. And you want to do it with unrushed time. You want to do somewhere where you can actually have clarity, where you're not stressed about a meeting that's happening right after. Like you want to do something where you can get away from everything, ideally in nature, even better if it's a journal and a pen instead of your phone. And then ask yourself questions. It's like, who am I? Or like, who is Andrew Varvara? And write like your name, obviously, and then write the dream, the ideal version of you. Reflect on like, who do you want to be? And I'm going to talk about this shortly. You have the freedom to envision anything, and you can write down anything on a paper. It's an idea, and you can write it out and see if it like sticks with you or not. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You can write more, write something different. But then like once you have some clarity on who do you want to be, the simple secret is start being that person. Like that moment, that instant. As soon as like you write something down, you're like, I like this. Like just be that person. A lot of people overcomplicate it. They think that they need to do something to like earn the right to go be the person they want to be, when it's simply just start being the person that you want to be. And like that changes the paradigm of like how you live moment going forward. So some other questions that I love to ask about, and a lot of this stuff is also like what I train my team on, is what are the top 3 goals I need to achieve this week, this month, this year, 5 years, right? And that helps give me clarity on what direction, what are the most important things to reverse engineer my daily tasks. Another big question is like on your deathbed, the age of 88 years old, what is the life that you want to have lived? Like not too many people think about that. And when you think about how you'll have your life from the age of 0 to 25, then like 25 to 35, 35, 45, 55, and then like you're older, it's like you can have a different time and place for different things. So that's one thing. Another big thing is let your imagination, creativity loose. Be honest with yourself. You can write down anything. Okay. No one's like holding you back. And if you want to dive deeper in that, I will say that this book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, helped a ton. And what I'm talking about, a lot of it is coming from habit 2, End in Mind. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. I read it once a year the last 5 years, going to my 6th. So that's a sick book. Anyways, inner work can be done however you want. There's no like right or wrong way. There are some more effective ways than other ways, as long as you actually do it. And this is the number one priority on the training with my entire team. Like this is where we start every single time, every year, before we start talking about sales and big goals and like blah, blah, blah. It's like, what is your identity? And are we doing the inner work to be clear on that? So hopefully just a quick recap. Identity is the foundation. Okay. Excuse my typo there. Who am I? And then write the dream.
Hey, Varvara, real quick, is
Yo.
are you presenting? Because all I see is a green screen.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
No way. It should be
I see
showing.
identity is the foundation.
I see it.
Okay.
Dude, my heart just stopped. I was like, no way. Was I talking this whole time with a green screen? Can you see it now, Eamon?
And no, I'll have to probably rejoin the call or something.
Cool. Thank
Cooper,
you.
you gotta leave and join back.
Okay. Thanks for the support, Alex. I'm glad you can see it. But yeah, so reflect on who you want, be that person. And hopefully like the last 5-10 minutes of me talking about this helps you understand the bigger picture on how identity helps you take action in the direction that you actually want. Okay, next slide. So I'll use me as an example real quick. Because I noticed in the past, I subconsciously, so like I didn't realize I was doing this, but I subconsciously crafted an identity that allowed me to go do many hard out of the box things. Out of the box as in going against the norm. Like when I was in high school in California, most of my classmates went to schools in California, right? And I was one of the oddballs that left the state because I didn't want to pay an arm and a leg for UCLA. So I took the full ride to the University of Tulsa. And then I did the same thing again, too. I was the oddball when I graduated with a 4.0 bio pre-med degree and decided not to go to medical school to go knock on doors selling pest control. Like you don't even need to go to college to do what I do for a living right now. And a lot of people thought I was crazy. And a lot of people questioned me. But like I had the identity to know I know what I want and I need to go do what I want. Because if I don't pursue it, I'm going to regret not pursuing it for the rest of my life. So like another example is my big year. I sold $425,000 worth of pest control. And I was one of the best in the whole company. But like that took a lot of obsession, training, sacrifice, working a whole lot more than a lot of other people. And even now I'm building a life where I travel the world 2 to 3 months out of the year. That's against the norm. Like most people say it's not possible. And I say, watch me. Okay. And then like other things. This all stems to being clear on parts of my identity and the life I wanted to live, regardless of what other people thought. And I realized like everything I'm talking about right now, I kind of learned earlier this year, right? Like I became conscious of identity creation earlier this year in like February. And I realized that I've been doing it without realizing it. And I wanted to like voice it to like put it on people's radar so more people can benefit from this. So here's the thing. Building your identity is hard. Crafting your dream self is really hard, especially the first couple times you do it, but you will get better over time and you will improve it and you will become more badass. And again, you have the freedom to build an identity that embodies your big, scary goals, dreams, and at a very high level, whether they know they're doing this or not, people that internalize this do very, very big things. Elon Musk has the identity that he's going to lead a team that gets people on Mars. Without a doubt. That's why he's doing everything that he's doing to go make it happen. If he didn't have the identity, he would not have made it this far. Mark Cuban, he's a big role model of mine. Like he has a big identity to go be a freaking badass and like crush it in business because he knows he can do it. That's his part of his identity. Mr. Beast, YouTuber, like he's been posting on YouTube for 15 years. He knew he wanted to be the biggest YouTuber 10 years ago when I didn't know he existed. Right? Cristiano Ronaldo wants to be the best soccer player, #1 in the entire world, and he has the identity backing him up to go make the sacrifices, to take the action, to put in the time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears to try and become one of the best. So every single badass knows their identity, whether they recognize it or not. So conscious identity creation, because now I've told you about it, you can be conscious about it. When you're conscious of unboxed identity creation, who am I? Who is Andrew Varvara? Who is Nick Ciceri? Has so many possibilities, like nearly unlimited freedom. Technically, my identity, Andrew Varvara, can be a completely new slate today as I'm talking to you guys right now. I could go decide and embody that I will be the next Olympic level speed walker, or I'm going to go explore the Antarctic for the next 5 years. It would be really hard. It might not be the best thing in my interest to do, but technically nothing is stopping me. Okay. No one can tell me who Andrew Varvara has to be. No one has control of my identity besides myself. And it goes the same for you with your identity. And I challenge you to play with this too, because very, very few people do. So I'm going to check the time. Okay, we'll do almost half an hour already. What is your identity? No one controls it. You can craft it however you want. You can be very specific and granular. You can be vague. You can be intentional with this, or you can forget about it and stay the same. It's your choice. Now, here's like something that I learned very, very recently. From my experience, here's like the next quantum leap in identity creation in my personal life. And this is what pushed me to make this live stream. Adjust the question. So instead of asking, who am I? Ask, who does God desire me to become? So I just read this concept. I'm reading this book, Imagine Heaven by John Burke. And he analyzes a lot of near-death experiences, aka NDEs. NDEs are where people are pronounced dead. Their brain doesn't work, their heart doesn't work, up to like 90 minutes. And then they come back to life. And during those 90 minutes, when that person is pronounced dead, a lot of them end up meeting Jesus and talking with God and seeing a lot of dead family and friends and reviewing their whole life story. And a lot of them come back with a lot to share and a lot of experiences. And one of those big lessons that the book's talking about is how God's envisioned identity for us is superior, way bigger than what we can envision for ourselves. Like God's dreams and goals for each of us is way bigger than what we can craft on our own. And Burke talks about how so many people experiencing these NDEs realize they are not living up to what God envisions them. So then they come back and they want to do more with their lives and they have bigger dreams and aspirations. And I'm reading this book and I'm thinking about that. And I was like, well, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's go to the next level. Let's go to that next aspiration. That's where I came up with the idea of like, how do I go like change 1,000,000 lives? Like, let's see if it's possible. So that's what challenged me to full send this live stream when I thought of it less than a week ago. So tying it all together, the best goal in my experience is to create the identity aligned with the identity that God sees in us. And it's an ongoing process that will probably last our whole life. And the reality is we're probably never going to like figure it out, but we can always be creating and improving our identity along the way for the next 6 to 7 decades. And a big part of it is having the courage to take action on our big dreams, to take the risk, the leap of faith, and see what happens. Obviously, within reason, don't do stupid things like don't go cliff diving in shallow water or give up everything to go flip burgers on a whim. Unless that's what you're called to do, then go ahead. So, big recap of what I've been talking about for the last half hour. Identity is built, it's not found. We as humans have the free will and choice to create our identity of endless possibility. And I challenge you guys to plan the time to do the inner work, to like write stuff down in like quiet time, ask some hard questions while thinking outside of the box, where you prioritize yourself and yourself instead of other people's opinions. And it's like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And something that I really wish I would have heard like when I was 18, 7 years ago. It's like, seems like there's 3 levels of identity. Level one is just living life, not asking too many questions, flowing in the wind, who others, and becoming who others want you to become, which is what a lot of people do. The next level is who do you want to become? And then the third level, which again, I just learned about this less than a week ago, is embracing an identity of who God created you to become. And you have the freedom to take action on what you heard from me. So if that's kind of cool, you liked like what we're talking about, what we're training on, like this is the kind of stuff that I train my team. This is like what I build my whole sales program around. So I lead one of the top door-to-door teams in the industry. Top rookie in my team this year made over 70 grand. That's a picture of a bunch of us in Hawaii. This is all paintballing. And then also, again, we're the tournament winners, beat 29 other teams to win a trip to Bali. So if this content and like what I'm talking about like resonates with you or someone that you might recommend, someone that's hungry, ambitious, wants to learn sales, I am bringing on 4 to 5 guys for next summer. Interviews are open. Feel free to share the information or apply. So that's all I had for you guys. Any Q&A time, questions, thoughts, feel free to disagree. And if you liked it, feel free to also like DM me questions or topics so that I can do more in the future. And then here's my Instagram if you guys want to follow me or stay in touch. So that's it with me rambling. Any thoughts, questions anyone wants to share? Tim, yes, there's a link on my Instagram if you want to apply for the job. Okay. Anything else? Cool. All righty, guys. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks for hopping
Hey,
on.
I'll ask you some questions if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm surprised that you haven't gotten any questions because this is such a deep topic. But with identity,
Mhm.
so you mentioned that you learned about some other things a couple weeks ago. I'm not exactly sure what those were, but when was the first time that you identified your identity? Like you became aware of it and like consciously aware of it. You know, I remember when I came into the conversation, you were talking about consciousness and us being aware. When's the first time that you came in touch with that sort of thing?
Yeah, the first time it actually like came to my consciousness where I realized I was doing it was probably in February this year. Like very, very recently. February this year, so it's like we're in December now, like about 9-10 months ago. And I was just listening to this master class that talked about you have the freedom to choose and be who you want to be. And then I like sat around and thought with that, and I realized that's like my team and I, we do a first creation every single year, especially before the summer starts. And the first creation like talks about like why you want to do the job, like what impact you want to have on the world, what are the values and principles that align with you. And I always thought, I was like, okay, cool, like I am like trying to figure out like what I care about. But then in hindsight, I realized too that that document also morphs and it changes my identity of myself. So, and then also real quick, we can talk about this if you had questions on this because you alluded to that. But like I didn't realize I up until like February, I was trying to find my identity. So up until like literally this year, age of freshly 25, I was trying to find who I am. And it wasn't until like that mastermind in like February where they talked about you can build it, you can craft it. And the funny thing too is I had to like think about that for a couple months until like I actually internalized it. And then it was an opinion that I've been slowly forming for the last 2 or 3 months. And I've talked with a few people about it. And then a couple of those people said, yeah, you should talk more about it. And so here we are. Any other questions?
So I have a follow-up question for you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much time you have, but
I
one
got
of
up
my
to an hour.
questions. Go ahead.
I said I got up to an hour, so I got another 23 minutes.
Okay. So my question as a follow-up was, since you're saying that you started to become aware and started to question that and become aware of it, I'm gonna gas you up here a little bit, but you've been really successful over the course of your 20s.
Thank you.
What do you think? You're welcome. What do you think someone early on should do to come more in touch with their identity and start challenging it and start growing
Yeah.
like you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know when you hopped on, but I'll go back to like that's exactly what I try to talk about. And so I'll use that opportunity to like recap things, and then you can ask me more like questions, like if there's something specific that's not clear. So it goes back to this, right? Like there's so many people that have goals, or they say they have goals, they talk about goals, but then they don't hit them. They don't hit their goals over and over and over and over again. And I'm really like on the sidelines because like I'm hitting and then working really hard to hit some of my goals. And I'm like watching other people live their life, and like 7 years have passed. And like I'm seeing 25-year-olds washing cars for 30 grand a year. And I'm like, what's the difference between ending up there versus like what I'm doing? Because it's two completely different things. It's like, how is there an Elon Musk that's worth almost $1 trillion? And then there's also so many poor people that like have a negative net worth. Like, what differentiates that? And it's like a very big, multifaceted question. And my belief is that it all starts with identity and who you believe you are. It all starts with me, like with my identity. To simplify, it's like, who is Andrew Varvara? And for a lot of kids, especially like 18-year-olds, because they don't really know what they want in life. Like half of the kids, where I'm like, what are your goals a year from now? Like they're like, I've never thought about that. Right. So one of the big problems is people aren't doing the inner work to figure out what they want or who they are. But they're watching YouTube videos on like how to take action, on like how to go work out to get abs, but then they'll like do the ab workout once and then never do abs for the next 10 years. And then they're overweight, like half of America. So now it's like, okay, like what does it actually take to go hit abs, get abs, have abs? Well, it actually doesn't start with doing the ab workout once. And I was like, well, it starts with like the standard or the habit of like putting in the work to have abs. But how does that happen? Because a lot of people struggle with building habits. It's like do something for 30 days and then it'll be a habit. You can do that, or you can listen or like watch this recording where I talk about how you embodying the identity, me saying, Andrew Varvara, like I am athletic, I have abs, and I'm going to start living like the person that has abs. What does a person who has abs do? Well, he stays in shape, he eats pretty healthy, and he hits abs once in a while consistently on at least like a weekly basis. That's the standard. That's the habit. That's the expectation. And if you can have the identity supporting the standard, it's going to be a lot easier to actually start taking the action consistently. Because especially for people that have never had abs, I'm just using that as the example to try and answer the question better. They've never had abs. Like it's going to take a couple months before they get there. But it's like as long as they know that 1 year from now, 2 years from now, they're going to have abs, might as well embody the identity of the person that has abs to actually like follow through and then build evidence. And like when you do hard things, your identity improves, becomes stronger, bigger, more powerful. So going back to your question on like what should a person 18-year-old do to like hit big goals, it's like take the time to do the inner work on examining your thoughts, emotions, beliefs. Like what do you like, what do you value, what's important to you, and ask yourself hard questions like what are the top 3 goals I need to hit 5 years from now. For that 18-year-olds, like where do you want to be when you're 23? Do you want to be like one of the top door-to-door guys and like have 200K invested in real estate and like be on a path to financial freedom and change a lot of lives? Or do you want to go be a physician? Or do you want to go get a blue collar job and be an electrician and like be the best electrician there is? Or like something else. It's like painting a vision and then recognizing the goal that you want and then internalizing it and incorporating to like your identity to actually get there is a big part of it. So I highly recommend just like challenging people to think for themselves, go in nature and ask themselves some hard questions on like, what do I want? And another thing too that helped me, because that's what I was doing to an extent. Like I was like, what do I want? But it's still hard. But it's like also like talk with people about it. Talk with mentors. Find people that you respect that live the life that you want or live a life that you're curious about and ask them deep questions. I did that when I was in healthcare. I shadowed and volunteered and talked with over 100 physicians. And I had the balls to ask them, hey, would you do this again? And like half of them said no. Half of them said only if it's the only thing you can imagine yourself doing. And I can imagine myself doing a lot of things. And like that scared me. I wanted to pursue a life where the life satisfaction was higher than 50%. So that's my little ramble there.
So one more question, and then I'll let other guys ask you some.
Please.
I'm sure guys have wrote down some questions and taken some notes. But what is the largest result you've seen this year from creating your identity?
It's a good question. It would be this year specifically is falling in love with God. Any follow-up questions?
Yeah. How do you feel like falling in love with God has impacted and changed your life?
Yeah. So I lived most of my life where I believed I was in control. Like I embraced the extreme ownership principle and just assumed like everything was my responsibility from a young age, which led me to like work super, super duper hard to go make the things I wanted to happen. And it was a very difficult, very intense tactic. It was very like it worked. It helped me hit the goals I hit, but it was at such a high cost. It was really draining. And like the whole time, like I wasn't like as happy as I could be. Like I wasn't depressed, but I was just like, man, like this is hard. Like I don't know if I want my life to be like this the whole time, but I don't know anything better. And one of the big things is I like I became a lot more of a Jesus guy. And I actually started like believe in Jesus last year at the end of the year. And one of my goals, I was like, cool, this is new to me. And like one of my goals is like I want to get stronger with that. And that was like one of the big things in my identity where it's like I want to the ideal version of me is very close with God. right? And I was building, I had the idea of who do I want myself to be? What is the dream version of myself with my identity? And I was like, honestly, out of everything in my life, everything's like kind of there. The big thing that was missing was my relationship with God. And I was like, that's like the biggest thing that like I want to work on. That was the biggest thing where I shifted my identity towards like, cool, I want to go be close with God. So I'm going to start talking with God every single day. I'm going to be close with God to the best of my ability every single day. And since then, life has become a lot more fluid, a lot more smooth, a lot less stressful. Like a lot more peace. And I feel like a lot of things are starting to line up a lot smoother without having to work all the freaking time. And I have way more trust in the process. Way more trust in the process. And it's like now I have like this mindset where like whatever happens is probably happening for a good reason. And whether I understand it now or whether I understand it when I'm 80 or if I understand it after I die, like at some point I'll understand it. And like now it's like everything that causes stress almost like has no reason to stress me out unless I'm just being emotional. And I would say like that's the biggest thing that has like helped me this year. And that's an awesome question. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share that.
Hey, Andrew, I just want to say something.
Yeah.
I love that you're drawing kind of like the Lord into purpose as well, because I've grown up kind of Christian and whatnot, but just, being forced to go to church with your parents is one thing versus, being in college and being kind of out of college and having to go on your own. Your faith is kind of based off of you. I just think it's really cool that you've kind of fallen into that. Here recently, but also I think it's really interesting because a common quote that I've heard is like faith without works is dead. And essentially that just means, that your faith is there, but without kind of acting upon it and, maybe doing things that would involve your faith, whether that's like serving in the church, doing things outside with like other just ministries in general. You're called to do these things. And I think it's kind of cool because I can at least see a correlation between kind of having a purpose and having goals, but also with having goals, you have to have kind of like the following actions that would like make those goals take place, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I really enjoyed what kind of you went over today. I took some notes about just let me read them to you. I said, then if identity's not Bill, it's not found. I really like that. I mean, it's one of those things that you can't just open a door one day and you find it in the back of the closet. I mean, it's one of those things that, you really do have to kind of go day by day. And you kind of have to figure out what your purpose is. And I do think that having the Lord in your life, I don't know, it's a whole different, I don't know. I just resonate a lot with what you said. Just for me to like, I feel less stressful during the day, and even just when I pray, like right when I wake up, dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to make some money. Another day that I'm walking, I'm breathing, I'm healthy. So I don't know, man. I really appreciated all that, especially even just the whole topic of today's call. But I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And I'm glad that like it brought value to you. And I'll also be vulnerable too. Like I agree with you where there's that faith without works doesn't make sense. And one of the big things that it talks about, like the Bible and Jesus talks about, is because I reached this point where I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm close with God. Now what? It's like, what does God want me to do? Like, what is like the point of all this? It's not making money. Money's nice. Like we all like money, but it's like that's not the main point. And there's the 10 commandments, but one of the big things is like spreading the word of God and having the courage to talk about it and share it. And that is something that I've started dabbling in a lot more, especially this year. So that's like part of like why I brought this up. And also just being vulnerable. I'm like, I just learned about this last week. That's why I'm having this this call in the first place. So I love it. Any other questions? Any other thoughts? Going once. Going twice. All right, guys. Thanks for attending my first live talk ever. I had a bunch
Thanks,
of fun.
Andrew.
Thank you for being on. And feel free to message me if you guys have any other questions, thoughts. Feel free to throw stuff at me so that I can try and create more ideas and add more value for the world. So hope you guys will have a phenomenal Wednesday. Stay safe and go create your identity. See what's possible. Peace and love, boys and ladies, if there's any. Let's
Hey, Andrew.
yeah.
I don't have any plans for next summer, so I'm just curious. Where was the link again?
Yeah. Let me show you. It is. So it's right here on my Instagram.
Oh my
Andrew
gosh, that's perfect.
Varvara. And then say you can apply here. So there's that link. It's a Google form and fill out some of the questions. And if I like the answers, then we might get on a call.